ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help. The following program is brought to you by Arlington Community Media, where we tell your story.
This is ACMi News, recognized nationwide as the first place winner of the 2023 Hometown Media Award for News Access.
It would be an understatement to say this week's weather has been out of the ordinary, with heat advisories and dangerously high heat and humidity. But it all started with a deluge, and summer is just getting started. Arlington's Porchfest 2024 is another major success, as hundreds of bands got down and funky in the town of Arlington. We'll show you how music lovers were getting up off of that thing on Medford Street. And we'll introduce you to an Arlington Vietnam veteran who, as a communications tech, learned early on that the so-called police action half a world away was anything but. ACMi News starts right now.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered, giving you stories that count from people who care. Reliable, trustworthy, dependable. This is the nationwide award-winning ACMi News.
In just 1 week, Arlington has been exposed to some pretty strange weather. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Barn. Welcome to this week's edition of ACMi News. We are at Herd Field in the beginning of our summer, but I'm not going to be out here for long. Man, is it getting hot out here and hotter by the minute. Hope you are staying cool. Some areas in Massachusetts, including Arlington, are experiencing a heat index of 100 degrees or even higher from June 18 through the 21st. Most of the state endured dangerous levels of heat and humidity, which is why Herd Field is looking somewhat unoccupied right now. Some people were brave enough earlier to toss a frisbee in the searing heat. We found a Gaithersburg, Maryland couple walking around the perimeter of the nearby reservoir as well. And a group of Trader Joe's employees found their oasis in this heat. They found some shade. Everyone we talked to, of course, brought their common sense with them, whether it was hydration or finding a shady spot, until these searing summer winds blow over.
Primarily staying in the shade, not staying out too long because it's definitely warm, staying hydrated, but it's primarily enjoying this area and not being out too long.
We visit Massachusetts a couple times a year to see our son, and so this entire area, Arlington, is one of our favorites to come to. So since we're here in the middle of winter as well as the middle of summer, I have no complaints about the heat. Stay in the shade, enjoy the breeze off the water, and just be happy to be here.
I just gotta take it easy. I'm having some water. I don't want to dehydrate because people usually dehydrate when the heat comes. So people gotta be careful so they don't get in the heat.
Town leaders have some safety tips to cope with weather like this, such as, of course, never leaving children or pets alone in a closed vehicle. It gets really hot really quick. Slowing down and avoiding strenuous activity, and drinking lots of water. For more information on beating this heat as summer is just getting underway, just go to the town website, arlingtonma.gov. Again, that's arlingtonma.gov. This week has been a week of weather extremes. Friday, June the 14th, was delightful weather-wise in the morning and early afternoon. After that, it was every man for himself. The National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm warning at roughly 1:30 Friday afternoon. And this is the result: massive flooding throughout town, along with toppled trees and branches. A huge tree toppled in wake of the high winds and rains, landing squarely smack dab in the middle of Appleton Street, one of many felled trees throughout Arlington that day. Police quickly closed down the avenue as DPW crews were called to clean up the mess. The National Weather Service tracked this swift-moving and destructive storm from Wakefield to Newton as severe winds and showers made their way east, packing gusts of up to 60 miles an hour. DPW crews worked round the clock to clean up nature's mess. In less than 90 minutes, Appleton Street reopened. Luckily in this case, this massive tree did not bring down any power lines. In other news now, we want to congratulate the Ottoson Middle School class of 24. Nearly 500 Arlington 8th graders took part in the Ottoson graduation ceremonies on the adjacent baseball field on Friday, June 14th. They walked out of the school as students and onto this field as graduates. The ceremonies were jammed with proud parents, loved ones, and school staff. ACMi covered Friday's celebration on the ground and in the air. Now, we said ceremonies because there were two separate Ottoson graduation ceremonies to accommodate all of the students this year, many of whom will be moving on to Arlington High School, Arlington Catholic, or Minuteman High School. And once again, hats off to the Ottoson class of 2024. The head of Arlington's Finance Committee says eventually FinCom will be reviewing all factors that led to the theft of nearly $450,000 in a well-resourced overseas computer scam. You may recall Town Manager Jim Feeney told us just 2 weeks ago that the town had been hacked in a so-called phishing scheme, which, among other things, compromised email accounts to facilitate wire fraud. Town leaders say the hackers posed as Arlington High School reconstruction project vendors, then diverted town payments to themselves between mid-September of 2023 through January 24. According to Your Arlington, earlier this month, a decision was made for FinCom to conduct a review of the crime after a law enforcement investigation is complete. As a result, town leaders refused to comment any further pending that investigation. Meantime, we're being told by town leaders the ongoing school building project will continue as scheduled. The weather was perfect for Arlington's Porchfest 2024 on Saturday, June 15th. 300 plus porches, bands, and artists returned to the neighborhood once again this year. Residents were able to enjoy the raw energy that live music creates on Arlington's lawns, porches, gardens, and stoops in a day solely devoted to music. One of the more lively spots was number 7 Medford Street, smack dab in front of the Regent Theater Saturday afternoon. That's where Tony Wilson wowed the crowd with James Brown's Get Up Off of That Thing. All right, clearly Tony is better at it than me. Check it out.
Get up off of that thing. Now say you gonna feel better. Get up off of your thing and dance. Sing it, ladies, come on. Get up off of that thing and dance. You feel better. Get up off of that thing. Yeah. Try to release that pressure. I said get up off of your thing. You better say till you feel better. You better get up off of your thing and dance, dance. Somebody scream. Get up off of that thing and dance so you feel better. Get up off of that thing and try to release that pressure. I said get up off of your thing and say you feel better. Get up off your thing and dance, dance, dance. Come on. Get up off of that thing and dance so you feel better. Say what? Get up off of that thing. Come on. And try to release that pressure. Everybody just wave your hand. Everybody just wave your hand. Everybody over there just wave your hand. Everybody right there just wave your hand. Now get up off of your thing. Sing to you, feel better. Sing it, ladies. Get up off of that thing and try to release that pressure. Need no monkey horn. Can I get no monkey horn? Need no monkey horn. Just give it to me, give it to me. Come on. Right here. All right, thank you, thank you. All right, we're gonna try to play something with a little bit more energy.
Tony Wilson is young James Brown. If you missed this performance, don't fret. You can still feel good. We knew that you would now. Tony Wilson's Super Bad Birthday Bash will be back at the Regent on August the 14th, and tickets are going fast, especially after last Saturday's event. Just go to the Regent Theater website, regenttheater.com. Again, that's Regent Theater, theater with an R-E.com. Once again, the Rotary Club's Flags for Heroes campaign is a major success. You may recall the Rotary Club of Arlington held a dedication ceremony at the grounds of the Water Tower in the Heights community, Sunday, June 2nd. And here's one last look at that magnificent display before volunteers took it down right after Flag Day. Area residents had the opportunity to sponsor a U.S. flag honoring the men and women who are serving or have served as members of the U.S. military, police officers, firefighters, anybody who's made a difference in the lives of others. 186 flags grace these grounds this year, each the result of a $40 donation and a tag with the name of a mentor. The donation goes directly to the Rotary Club of Arlington's scholarship program, giving our high school students a head start. Now, for more information on how Rotary helps out the Arlington community, just go to the Arlington Rotary website, arlingtonmarotary.com. Again, that is arlingtonmarotary.com. If you're a regular viewer of ACMi News, you may know we have been teaming up with the Cyrus Dallin Art Museum now for a year, piecing together an oral histories project. That's readings from area residents and museum staff members on stories that connect them with Arlington's own world-renowned sculptor, Cyrus Dallin. For this story, if the name Sterro sounds familiar, there's a good reason. The Sterros were a very prominent Beacon Hill family who purchased a second home in Lincoln, just about 5 miles from here. As Cyrus Dallin was at the peak of his career, the Sterros called upon him to design and sculpt the statue that now graces the entrance of the Lincoln Cemetery. To tell us about this project, which took place in the early 1920s, here's the Director of Outreach for the Dallin Art Museum, Nancy Blanton.
We are standing at the Boy and His Dog sculpture, or Storrow Memorial. It's a statue by Cyrus Dallin, located in the beautiful Lincoln Cemetery on Lexington Road in Lincoln, Massachusetts. The statue was commissioned in 1923 by philanthropist Helen Osborne Storrow of Lincoln and Boston in anticipation of her husband James Jackson Storrow II's forthcoming death. James had been diagnosed with an aggressive malignant tumor in his neck for which there was no cure. He died in 1926. In a letter to Dallin, Helen expressed her wishes for a memorial that would reflect the couple's non-traditional spirituality and also serve as a source of comfort and inspiration to others. The Storrows spent much of their free time outdoors, spending many weekends in the open, exploring, canoeing, and hiking. Their first home was in Beacon Hill, but they fell in love with the town of Lincoln, Massachusetts, and decided to build their second home here in 1905, a 3-story, 39-room brick mansion surrounded by 16 acres of open and wooded land. Nearly 5 miles away in Arlington, Massachusetts, sculptor Cyrus Dallin began designing Boy and His Dog in 1923 and completed it in 1925. In her letter to Dallin, Helen wrote, "I should think some figure emblematic of the spirit of out of doors would be appropriate and suitable for us. I am sure you will make us a beautiful one that will have spirituality so that religious people will like it, and at the same time it would be suitable for people like us who have no fixed religious faith in the sense of believing in the dogmas of any church." Dallin created a 46.5-inch sculpture that portrays a young man and his dog, looking fondly at the boy as the young lad crouches and reaches to pluck a flower. Originally placed in a wooded area on the Storrow estate, this bronze work is now a beautiful, calming beacon to visitors at the Lincoln Cemetery. The Storos are interred just a few feet north of the monument, overlooking a picturesque pond. The posture of the boy in the Storo Memorial is similar to another Cyrus Dallin statue, the Menotomy Hunter near the Town Hall in Arlington. Like the young man in the Storo masterpiece, Menotomy Hunter is crouching down to scoop up a drink of water after a successful hunting trip. The Storo Memorial is inscribed with a quote by English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson from his poem Flower in the Crannied Wall. The quote reads, "Little flower, if I could understand what you are, root and all in all, I should know what God and man is." The sculpture rests on a rough-hewn granite stone that is 6 feet high. There are similarities between this work and a 1903 sculpture of Tennyson created by George Frederick Watts, located on the grounds of Lincoln Cathedral in England. Watts's sculpture contains the full text of the poem. It also has a man with an attentive dog, but in this case, the man is Tennyson himself. James and Helen Storo were born into families of great privilege and accomplishments, and each saw that privilege as an opportunity to lead and give back. They were committed to causes ranging from historical preservation to education and social support for less fortunate immigrants in the New World, desperately seeking a new life. Mr. Storo was born in 1864. He was raised in Beacon Hill and attended Noble School, Harvard College, and Harvard Law School. He became a highly successful and influential investment banker who rose to become the 3rd president of General Motors and the 2nd national president of the Boy Scouts of America. He was also a candidate for mayor of Boston in 1909. In 1901, Storo spearheaded a campaign to dam the Charles River and create the Charles River Basin, as well as to preserve and improve the riverbanks as a public park. The Massachusetts legislature approved the dam in 1903, and it was completed in 1910. Mrs. Storo, Helen, was born in Auburn, New York in 1864. Her mother was a socially conscious Quaker. Her father, a manufacturer. Her great-aunt was famous abolitionist and women's rights advocate Lucretia Mott. Helen attended boarding school in Springfield, Massachusetts, and met James Storo while hiking in Switzerland in 1882. They married 8 years later in 1891 and moved to Beacon Hill. James and Helen's only child, James Jackson Storo III, was born in 1892. Helen was an active philanthropist and leader who was involved in a number of causes. She chaired the Girl Scouts World Committee and was a generous patron to the Boston Girl Scouts. Ms. Storo donated $1 million to the state of Massachusetts to complete the development of the Charles River Basin, in which her husband had been involved in prior to his death. It was largely due to the efforts of Helen and James Storo that the Charles River Basin was landscaped and turned into a recreational area during the 1930s. To quote Storo's son, James Storo III, the biographer and author of the book Son of New England, James Jackson Storo, "No two people ever saw more completely eye to eye in all the things that count. They constituted a perfect partnership." Though the Storos and Dallins came from different backgrounds, their lives may have intersected in other ways. Both Helen Storo and Cyrus Dallin's wife, Victoria, were active in women's clubs and passionate about supporting the arts. James Storo was active with the Boy Scouts, and Cyrus Dallin was made honorary Eagle Scout after speaking to Scouts of his boyhood in Springville, Utah, and how his friendship with indigenous members of the Ute tribe guided his lifelong sense of social justice and heavily influenced his art. Cyrus Dallin was at the peak of his career when he was commissioned to create Boy and His Dog, and it comes as no surprise that Mrs. Storo would specifically reach out to him to commission this timeless masterpiece. Looking back nearly a century later, it's clear that Helen Storo and Cyrus Dallin both managed to leave behind a legacy of character and faith. Together, they also constituted a perfect partnership.
Few museums in the world are located in the town where the artist actually lived and where that artist actually worked. We here in Arlington are very lucky. To get more information on this series or all the events occurring at the Cyrus Dallin Art Museum this summer, just go to the museum website, dallin.org. Again, that's dallin.org. ACMi News is also working with area veterans in producing an oral histories project. We are giving our men and women in uniform the opportunity to tell their unique story. From World War II to present day, we're looking for veterans in all branches of the U.S. military to recount their own experience serving this nation and how that experience changed their lives forever. In this newscast, we interview Jim Stacchi of the town of Arlington. Jim was in the U.S. Air Force just as the conflict in Vietnam was ramping up half a world away.
As we all know, we're faced with a very difficult problem in South Vietnam, which we're all familiar with, both in the military and the political side. Men have different views about what actions we should take, and they talk to members of the press, to all of you, in Saigon, here in Washington.
I volunteered. Three of us buddies were hanging around and we were talking, well, what are we gonna do with our lives? The bottom line is that we decided, let's see about joining the service. So all three of us went down to Somerville, to the recruiting office, took our exams, and when they were all done, they come up to me and said, pick what you want to do. You scored well on everything. So I said, I'll take electronics. I love communications. And so that's what I got. U.S. Air Force, 1962 to 66, just at the beginning of the Vietnam War. And then I came home to Arlington on leave before getting my first assignment to the Clark Air Base in the Philippines. Kennedy was shot while I was home on leave. And that put a scare, obviously, in the whole country. They set me up to put me on a plane, like Continental Airlines, out of San Francisco to Clark Air Base. I got there, I thought I was in the wrong place. Because my first tour of duty, when I got there, was the communication center was all Army personnel.
Logistical support requests this command. Delta Alpha 211/36.
Nobody told me that the Air Force was taken over from the Army on the communications on the base. And I was the only Air Force personnel there. My NCOIC was out on a golf tournament.
The ground wave follows the curvature of the Earth and provides a reliable range of approximately 80 kilometers with the ANGRC-46.
I had a hankering for transmitters and receivers, radio frequency communications, which is basically one of the things they look for with me. And the next thing I know, I got assigned out to the receiver site.
We'll assume the operator has a high priority message for an air-ground liaison team. First, he checks the frequency, call signs, and authentication.
We had one thing that was behind the desk. I'll never forget, it was the fire axe. In case we were ever overrun, we were to destroy all the equipment. Big, huge fire axe. Idea was to stood there with headphones on, just tuning through the frequency spectrum, looking for a carrier signal. You're broadcasting, I'm receiving you now, so I'm locked onto your frequency and whatever you're broadcasting. And we'd pipe that into one of the comm center areas where they would decide, whether or not it was information that they could break down or not. But the bottom line is they had the signal for it. And the other thing is for our own transmitter receiver, for our own communications. The main thing we maintained communication was with the DCA, Defense Communication Agency, that was all over the Pacific. And we had several links into Vietnam.
United States helicopters in South Vietnam poised for an Eagle flight, a way of airlifting government troops to root out red Viet Cong guerrillas in the Camao Peninsula.
Vietnam at that time there was just starting. At that time, I believe they called it a police action. When we went in and we sent advisors in, and I was at Clark maybe 6 months, and they were sending people back to the hospital in '63 from Vietnam, and it's like, what's going on over there? And of course, we're working in the comm center, and you see a lot of stuff going back and forth, and it's like, there's more than advisors over there. There's guys in combat. And it didn't take long near the end of my tour of duty there was to realize that we're sending a lot of stuff into Vietnam. And we still haven't called it a war.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn?
I enjoyed my time in the service. The good times and the bad times, it all teaches you about life.
Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn?
I have always believed what only a vet can know, the meaning of brotherhood. You can watch it grow. As time goes by, a bond grows strong. You create a family where we can all belong. We share a friendship for all to know. Just shake our hands and watch it show. I wrote that in 2010.
When will they ever learn?
And we thank Jim for his extraordinary story. Now, if you're a veteran or know somebody who is, we would love to hear from you at ACMi. If you would like to be part of this ACMi News Oral Histories project, all you have to do is contact Bill Hainer via email, bill_Hainer@comcast.net. Again, that's bill_Hainer@comcast.net. Whew, okay. That's going to do it for this week's edition of ACMi News. Do you want to see how we put the newscast together here in the town of Arlington? Stop by and pay us a visit at 85 Park Ave on Thursday afternoons, anytime between 3 and 5 p.m. We have a lot of fun. And if you have any news tips for us, stay tuned. In just a few seconds, you'll find out just how to contact us. Meantime, we're going to see you back here next week. Thanks as always for joining us. I'm Jeff Barn. Have a great week, everyone. I'm going to have a glass of water, maybe two. Stay cool. We'll see you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.
ACMI productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMI to learn how you can help.